And we're live.
Hello. My name is Seda and I'm a creative associate for the National Youth Theatre and I'm tuning in from Hackney. Where are you tuning in from, Manasa?
Oh, hello, I'm Manasa and I'm tuning in from Nottingham in the East Midlands.
Wow.
Where are you tuning on from, Matt?
Hi everybody, my name's Matt. Like Seda, I'm lucky enough to be a creative associate for the National Youth Theatre and I'm in lockdown tuning in from East London. Really looking forward to sharing a bit of time with you all this afternoon. Bring us home, Belle. Where are you tuning in from?
Hello, I'm Belle and I am tuning in from Crawley, the home of Gatwick Airport.
What a place to be.
What a place.
To be. We're really pleased to be with you all today and to be able to share a little 90 minutes sort of playing and exploring creatively. I think at this time it feels really nice. Anything that we can do to bring our community of artists and makers together feels really positive. So me and Seda were initially approached by NYT to run a workshop session around some auditions feedback from our experience as associates auditioning across the country for this year's NYT intake course. And thankfully, in some ways, to the joys of modern technology, we've now been able to open this up to a whole range of NYT members and maybe people who are considering coming into the company. So we were really aware that over the next 90 minutes, we'd love to try and empower you as artists to give you a little bit of feedback from our experience auditioning, but to give you some skills as well that you can take away that can be useful for the NYT audition process, but for hopefully any other audition processes or creative rooms you will be stepping into. So that's a sort of aim for the next 90 minutes.
Yeah. But before we start, like we start with every session, I think it might just be really nice just to just shake a little bit. So let's just bring our arms up in the air, shake your wrists. And I'm sure like everyone in the country and around the world right now, we are hunched over technology, right? In a way, it's amazing that we can connect like this and we can reach you like this, but in another way, my shoulders are feeling it. So let's just do a few shoulder rolls. Let's get ready. Let's get a comfortable seat wherever you are. Let's inhale through the nose. Exhale, roll the shoulders down the back, chest open. Oh yeah, get into those nooks and crannies. One more of those. Inhale. And then exhale, send it down. Nice. And then from here, give me both hands. And then with these thumbs up, we're going to take them back. We're going to open the elbows and then we're going to bring the pinkies together in front. Oh, do you feel that in the shoulders?
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
Thumbs up. Inhale, take it back. Elbows up. Oh, bring it, pinkies in front. Nice. And then from here, we're going to do thumbs up again. Inhalation. And then exhale, send the thumbs behind you. And then skiing. I've never gone skiing. I don't know if this is how people ski, mate. But
I'm buying it, mate. I love it, Seda. I think it's great.
People ski. Anyway, we're going to take it back. And then once we've taken it, we're going to bring the backs of the hands together this time. Thumbs down. Good. Thumbs up. Take it back. Good. And then backs of the hands meet. Oh, thumbs up. Give the hands a shake. Give the hands a flick. Get into those wrists because we're on our wrists. We're using our shoulders quite a lot. It's really good to get the circulation going. And just to make sure that we're keeping all our joints and our body, our instrument, our tool healthy and engaged during all of this. Because I don't know about you, but I'm definitely sat down more in front of my computer. So it's always good just to get into the body before we start any sort of work. And also I find it really helps me focus, be it for a Zoom session or be it for any sort of workshop that I'm leading or taking part in. So physical warm-ups. Great. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to just ground down through some breath. So I know for a lot of us, myself Matt included, it can be really, really nerve-wracking when you're in a room full of people that you don't know. Even before this, me and Matt were like, so a really good technique that you can do before you go into any sort of workshop, audition, or a big Zoom call like this, to find a seat. You can either be on the floor, you can be sat on a seat like you are now, or standing up. And we're going to do the 4, 7, 8 breathing, right? So you inhale for 4. You hold for 7. And you let go for 8. Good. Inhale for 4. Hold. And let go for 8. Inhale for 4. Hold. Let go. We'll do one more of those without any counting, and just trusting the intelligence of your breath. So inhale. Hold. Release. Good. And just notice wherever you're tuning in from today, how you're feeling, how instantly, in just a matter of seconds, moments, you have empowered yourself to transform your physiological state, right? To move away from this quite fight or flight mode, which we can be in, which is quite a reactionary state, which we can be in when we're in auditions, to accessing your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the way that we calm and ground ourselves. And of course, auditions can be high stress situations sometimes. So it's really important to know what tools we can use to help us ground before anything that can be a little bit nerve-wracking. And know that the breath is with you always, right? Just a simple technique of breathing in and out. And usually if we exhale for a little bit longer than we breathe in, we notice the calming, grounding effect in the body. How do you both feel now?
Feel great.
Feeling good.
They're so much calmer.
Yeah. How about you, Matt?
Yeah, I feel great. It's really beautiful, Seda. Like you said, just that sort of simple toolkit that we can have as people to go when we're putting ourselves into these situations that we know may be a little anxiety inducing or nerve wracking, that we can just take that little breath and center ourselves. And I think it's really lovely, isn't it, to just notice that about self, to go, what's my physiological response to being in an audition situation, and what are those techniques I can use to calm it. I'd love to just build on that work, if that's all right, Seda, a little bit more, and just start to get us thinking a little bit within this sort of mindfulness and mindset of auditions. This idea that you are enough. I think we worry a lot about, as actors and creatives, this need to be interesting or to do something different. And I'm really aware that when I work with actors, what I enjoy to do is to build from the people that we have in the room, to work in a model and a way that's responsive to the ensemble. And I think that's something that's at the core of NYT as a company. And also building from that, I say, if you haven't been successful at NYT, to please say that know that all auditions are subjective. And just because you haven't potentially been successful within your journey this year, doesn't mean that the talent isn't there, doesn't mean that you aren't an exceptional and exciting performer. It just means that potentially this year the vibe wasn't quite right. And so a really quick little exercise to just tap into who we are and potentially what are the stories that we want to tell and what defines us at this moment as artists. So this exercise may change tomorrow when you wake up, but we're just going to jump in and give it a go. Belle, if I could ask you to jump in and start with this, is that all right? I would love, Belle, and people watching at home, watching live, please try this. Belle, I would love you to share with everybody your life story. From birth to the moment we find you right now. I'm only going to give you a minute to do this, Belle, which means that we might not get all the details. So think about the juicy bits. What are the good stuff that we really need? So you have a minute to share with us all, Belle, your life story from moment of birth to finding you right here. Is that clear? Is that all right for you?
Clear.
Great. I'm going to push up the tension by popping out the little stopwatch. You have 1 minute, Belle, to tell us your life story. 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, hi everyone, my name's Belle. I'm one of 3 children and I am the middleman. I was born in Epsom, born, bred, raised, whatever. When I was 3, I was walking in my kitchen in those little plastic dress-up shoes that you have, and I slipped and I cracked my tooth, and that's why I have like a birthmark on my tooth. great story. Lots of people think that I was born with it, but I wasn't. It grew back like that. So I went to school in Epsom, all fine, all great, really enjoyed acting.
30 seconds left, half your time gone. Keep going, Belle.
I carried on, went to college. Then I went to Drama Centre in London for a year. Then I moved to University of York, which was great, met friends, but I hated the first year, enjoyed the second two after years. Was in a great play about suffragettes. Then I became a member of NYT, fabulous, enjoyed every moment.
10 seconds.
And now I have a theatre company called Rocket Box, and we do plays and we tour, and I also really enjoy teaching, and I'm training to be a teacher.
Pause there, Belle. Thank you. Lovely work, mate. Take a breath.
That's quite hard.
Lovely little bit of promo there for the company as well, Belle. Squeeze that in.
Well,
Very
no,
nice. No, great. What was quite challenging about it, Belle? What was difficult?
I don't really know. It's really hard to decide what you're going to say. Kind of turns into like a bit of a monologue, and you can get stuck quite easily.
Yeah, interesting. I think it's not often that we get asked to sort of formalise our life in some way, or to go, what's brought us to this point? And sometimes to do that can feel a little bit head in the shed about things. Manassa, I'm going to come to you next. I'm going to ask you to do the same exercise, but with a new constraint. People watching at home, please vibe with this new constraint and see how it feels. So Manassa, same challenge, tell your life story. This time I'm going to ask you to do it in 30 seconds. So we halve the time. So we're making it even more challenging. We're thinking, what are the essential, what are the core facts, stories, moments that we want to share with people? 30 seconds. Manassa, do you feel confident for this? Have you got this?
Let's have it. Come on.
Right, I'm ready. 30 seconds. Your whole life story from birth to this point, all the juicy bits. 3, 2, 1, go.
So my name is Manassa. I was born in South Africa. English is my third language. I moved to the UK when I was 5 to a place called Luton. And now I live in a place called Nottingham in the East Midlands. I go to drama school.
Time. Keep going.
I go to drama school. I study at RADA on the BA acting course. I love NYT. It's the best thing I've ever gotten into. The people are great. And I support Arsenal Football Club. And I am happy to be here.
Pause there. Lovely finish, mate. I love it. There's something about the energy of slightly being under pressure that's really like joyful as well. And it sort of stops you from centering. It's great. Mate, lovely. Already we're starting to hear interesting stories from you two. As a maker, I'm thinking, great, what was this childhood like in South Africa that's different to here? What's the story of that journey? Arsenal fan living in the Midlands, Belle with her theatre company, it's brilliant. And Belle, we're going to flip it back to you. People at home, keep sticking with this exercise. This next little flip up's coming here. Belle, same thing again, your full life story, but this time you only have 10 seconds. Got 10 seconds, please. So maybe full sentences now aren't your friend. What are the key words that define your journey from birth to here? You've got 10 seconds. Don't plan, Belle. Resist that temptation.
No, yeah, okay.
Trust it. Give it a go. You've got 10 seconds. Your life story. 3, 2, 1, go.
Born in Epsom, moved to Tadworth, then went to college, then went to Uni of York, then moved to London, now live in Crawley, have a theatre company, have lots of friends, really enjoy
Stop there. Nice. Good work. Well, yes. Great. So I'm going to give you 5 seconds just while I riff, chatting now. Belle, Manassa, and maybe Seda and me can do this as well. But to just think, if we're taking our life story away from that 10-second version, so we've taken it from a minute to 30 to 10 seconds, to what are the 3 words at this moment that slightly define us as people, that if we were like a stick of rock and you broke us in half, what would be the words that ran through the middle that are us as people? As I say, this might be completely different when you wake up tomorrow, that's fine. These words don't have to link, it doesn't have to be funny and cool. But what are the 3 words that right now at this moment sort of say who we are? I'm going to start and then I'm going to hand over to you next, Belle, if that's okay. So my name is Matt, and the 3 words that define me at the moment are sister, music, and gravy. They're my 3 words. Belle, can you give us your name and your 3 words, please?
Yes, my name's Belle, and my 3 words are tooth, Epsom, and rocket.
Beautiful. Thank you. Manassa, I'm coming to you next. Could you give us your name and your 3 words, please?
Of course. My name's Manassa. The 3 words to describe myself: I'm hardworking, aligners, and South African.
Beautiful. Thank you, mate. Seda, Yildiz, coming to you to bring us home.
My name is Seda. My 3 words are parks, yoga, and toilet seat with a high.
Amazing. We'll take it. That's great. Really simple little exercise, but something that I like to do at the start of the process and just occasionally as an artist to go, what is it that's sort of defining or linking with me at the moment? And it's just about knowing that whenever you come into a room, what makes you unique and special is all of the experiences that have brought you to this point. No one else will have those 3 words. So trust that you have something special and exciting to give.
Yeah. And I'd say with exercises like this, I know that when I first started doing workshops when I was much younger, I'd be like, what's the right thing to say? Do I need to say words I'm going to be remembered by? Will that affect if I get picked or not? Absolutely not. What we just did here, whatever is said is accepted, right? And it's just about saying yes to the moment and knowing that whatever you offer to the room, that's going to be different every time you're in a new room, right? And we're not going to judge you by an exercise like this, you know. And I think a lot of actors can potentially get into their head about that, and I'm telling you now, we definitely don't. All we want to see is you jumping in and openly sharing how you're feeling in that moment. And I think that's the place that we can all come from, right, as actors, just responding truthfully to how we're feeling in the moment.
Amen. I think that's beautiful, Seda. Beautifully put. Should we move on to some monologue time?
Yeah, let's do it.
So we've roughly broken our workshop today down into 5 sections. So the first one, we wanted to check in with a sense of sort of mindfulness and knowing that we are enough within this room. And then number 2 is monologues. And I think that the monologue can sometimes feel like a huge initial hurdle or something big that we need to get sorted before we go on to our audition. So just wanted to spend a little bit of time. I'm going to look at some contemporary monologues and Seda's going to look at some Shakespeare monologues. Just sort of explaining a little bit about monologue choice and about how we break them down. I'd just like to preface all of this with, remember what's useful, make it your own, forget what isn't or what doesn't land for you. And any exercises that I use, and I'm sure Seda's said is the same, they're yours now, like make them your own and go wild with them. And I also know that I grew up in a little place called Whitby, North Yorkshire, and I didn't have access to play texts. I know that people around the country have different access and different availability to contemporary texts. So please don't feel that you have to have a monologue from this sort of incredible piece of new writing that's just been on in a fringe theatre in London. Trust that your talent, and if the truth and the detail of your work is there, it's our job as auditioners to see past sort of selection of text, really, I think. Is that fair, Seda?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. All we're looking for in this is just a commitment to the text, commitment to the preparation, and a commitment to adaptability and being flexible with the text, which we're going to play around with now.
Absolutely. Seda has a beautiful phrase of hold on tightly, let go lightly, about that we do our work before with a monologue to make sure that our choices are solid and we know what we're doing. And we keep hold of that with our work. We're committed to our work, but equally, if some redirection's thrown in, we can let go of that very lightly. So first big thing is monologue selection. You will hear a lot of people say that the monologue should be close to age and not too far from you and to build from you. And I think that's all really, really great advice. Something that feels relatable to you that you're passionate about. However, I also know that sometimes you may want to push yourself. You may really sort of land on a monologue that is maybe a little older, a little younger, that has life experience that isn't the same as you, but that you're keen on. And so what I like to try and do is to show the difference between a monologue that is active and a monologue that can fall into a bit of storytelling. And for me, the active monologues are always the one to choose. So I turn to Manasseh and Belle, who are far better actors than I ever will be. Manasseh, you have a little monologue here, and I wonder if you wouldn't mind giving that monologue a read. We might not see the whole thing, I might stop you. And similarly with you, Belle, to just try and show the difference between a monologue that maybe gets lost in some imagery and pictures and one that feels quite active and driven on the other person. So Manasseh, when you're ready, can we jump in and we'll have a little look at your monologue, please?
Of course. Would you let me seated? Or?
Yeah, seated's fine, mate. Great. Yeah, take the pressure off. Just about popping the words out into the space.
No problem. So the monologue that I have is it's Here Somewhere by Joanne Watkinson.
Great. Let's give it a read.
I know it's here somewhere. I can remember putting it away in a safe place. I just can't remember which safe place. What do you mean it's a mess? Mum, I've told you I like to organize my room in a certain way. This pile here is my dancing stuff. This here is school stuff. Over here this weekend stuff. Under there is a box of memories, and in this corner, a pile of clothes that I've worn, but I haven't quite had the time to transfer to the laundry basket.
Just pause there for me, Manasseh. Really lovely work. Thank you for playing around with that text. Great. And Belle, could I just ask you to jump in and we'll just hear the start of your monologue, please?
Yeah, so this is from a play called Consensual. Just going to try and put it so you can see my eyeline. Okay. I lost my job today because of you. Well, because of... Actually, I'm technically suspended, but I'll resign before they fire me. One of my colleagues reported me to the Board of Governors. The woman I was mentoring, actually, because that's what happens. The mentee, the student, they all grow up and have minds of their own. And everything you taught them, they use against you, like some vicious circle of life. I guess it's my fault. I told her what happened. What did happen?
Just
Ready?
pause there for me, Belle. Great, thank you. Manasseh and Belle, how do we feel, what feels different between those monologues? Is there a difference? How do you feel about them?
I mean, reading just the small bits of what I did, this one, I feel, is there's this kind of connection that you've got to find, because clearly they're addressing someone else within that room.
Yeah.
And what you've got to be careful of is kind of like, yes, you are addressing someone, but don't forget the audience as well.
Interesting. Yeah, so there's a challenge there, mate, about addressing it, about the person in the room. Excellent. And I think, Manasseh, potentially, although they're speaking to someone, we feel very much like we slightly get lost within this person's world, of them just describing what's around them in the room. One of those monologue bits, I stepped out of bed, it was a rainy day, I walked into the street, I felt nervous, which is actually quite difficult to act, or it gives us a bit of a challenge, whereas Belle's monologue potentially feels a bit more direct. It's clear that who she's speaking to, and there's a clear want or a clear task that this character has. She's trying to change the other person in the scene. And I think that whenever we're looking for monologues, if we can find the monologue that drives, that's really got a clear objective or a task or a desire to change or impact the other people or other persons in that scene, I think that feels really juicy, and it makes your job a whole lot easier before we've even sort of started to work on it. So just try to use that as an example of sort of a monologue that gets a little lost in image, and Belle, something that feels like it's more driven. So Belle, I'd love to jump in and look at your monologue a touch more, if that's okay. Seda, please feel free to jump in at any point if you want to add anything, or if I'm just chatting absolute breeze. So this is a real whistle-stop tour for everybody watching of how I would go about breaking down a monologue. I think we expect a lot from you as actors to sort of come into this room making choices and making bold, clear choices. So this is how I would access a contemporary monologue and how I work on these speeches to hopefully help you find a bit of, to empower you to feel as confident as possible, for this work to feel bulletproof, and for you to be excited to come in and share this and collaborate on it in an audition. So Belle, let's just take it up from the top again, please, and we'll whip through. And Seda and Manasseh, if I could ask you to jump in on this. Manasseh, can I ask you to keep an ear out for any facts, anything that we learn from this speech? No fact is too little. Anything that we know that gives us a little foothold, keep an eye on that. Seda, can you just keep an ear out for any questions? Any big question? No question is too big. No fact too little, no question too big. And we'll come back with this at the end. Belle, when you're ready, let's just pick it up, please, and we'll rattle through this text. Thank you.
Sweet. I lost my job today because of you. Well, because of... Actually, I'm technically suspended, but I'll resign before they fire me. One of my colleagues reported me to the Board of Governors. The woman I was mentoring, actually, because that's what happens. The mentee, the student, they all grow up and have minds of their own. And everything you taught them, they use against you, like some vicious circle of life. I guess it's my fault. I told her what happened. What did happen, Freddie? Because every time there's the way I remember things, the way I want to remember things, and the ways things happened. And I don't think I can tell them apart. And maybe neither can you. The only thing I can absolutely remember is the first time I saw you. You'd come into the office with your tie loose and askew, your shirt untucked and a pen in your mouth, drawings on your hands, and you said, "I think we're going to be stuck together for a while. I apologise in advance." And you smiled. And I thought right then, maybe it was later, maybe it's in hindsight that I thought what I think I thought then. I thought, if I were 15.
Let's pause there, please, Belle. Great, thank you. Lovely reading. Manasseh, I'm coming to you first. Any facts?
Yeah.
What do we know about this speech? First time hearing it from some people. Any facts that jumped out to you?
I picked up lost job today.
Great. So we know the character's lost her job today. Brilliant.
But because of them, they're suspended.
Great.
They told her what happened. Person's describing wears their shirt untucked.
Nice.
Said that they'll stick together for a while.
Great. Fantastic. So you start to grab these little facts, these little footholds for her. She's lost a job today that she's suspended. That tells us something about the state that this character's in. And then we find out a little bit about this person that she's speaking to, about how they appeared. And there's some things happen between them. Great. Seda, Yildiz, I'm coming to you for any big, fat, juicy questions.
Some questions that I would like to know. Why will you resign? Why did they report you? What was taught to you that you used against them? What happened? Who's Freddie?
Bam, juicy.
How do you want to remember what happened?
Beautiful question. So this is how I'd start with any monologue, do the monologue and break it down, facts and questions, either side of the page. Our facts give us our solid things to build our character around. Our questions then start to get a little more interesting. If you have access to the full play, this is a brilliant time to read the play and to see what questions can be answered from that context. If there are questions that aren't answered in the text, you can then use the information in the text to create your own answers to those questions. Equally, if you don't have the text, now's your time to get creative and to start answering some of those questions. So we can fill you in on a little bit of context from this, because this is a play that I worked on. This character is Diane. She's speaking to Freddie. Freddie is a student who she had a relationship with when she was a trainee teacher. And throughout the course of the play, this relationship has come under scrutiny, and we're exploring this grey area around consent. And she's now gone to confront Freddie, this student that she had a relationship with. So we have our facts and our questions, and we start to build a sense of character from what we know is solid and from starting to answer some of these questions. That's my first starting point. And we then start to think about the other clue that the writer has left us before we do anything else, before we start to think about even task, objective. What's the other clue that the writer has left us? The punctuation. I never thought I'd be one of these directors that's like weird on punctuation, but I just love it. And my thinking behind this is that punctuations define thoughts, when thoughts finish and thoughts start. And thoughts define the rhythm of a character. They tell us what rhythm this character is feeling. They define breath. Punctuation defines breath. Breath defines emotion. So we can start to find out so much about a character's state of mind, about their emotion, and about who this person is purely by looking at the punctuation. So Belle, if it's all right, I want us to do a quick exercise. We won't do the whole thing. We'll just do the first few sentences. And I want us to break this down by each piece of punctuation. And I just want you to mark the punctuation, Belle. So this time, whenever you hit a full stop, can you just look in a different direction, Belle? Full stop is the end of one thought, start of another. Bang, bang. Really mark that change of direction. If there's a question, Belle, I wonder if you can go for a little stamp or a slap, a sense of that you want an answer. We can ask that question hard, land that question. And then if there's a comma feels like this desire, it's not a complete break of thought. It's a moment of suspension, a choice to carry on. So I wonder if on those commas, Belle, we just have this little sort of slight rise and fall. Moment of suspension, and then a choice to carry on with the rest of the sentence. So we have our full stop as a definite end of one thought, change of direction, question mark, little slap, want an answer. And then our comma is our little moment of suspension before we choose to carry on. Does that feel clear, Bella? It's a little physical journey.
It does. Do you mean
Great.
like a slap or like a jump?
Mate, just a little slap's cool, Belle. Let's not get too carried away. Yeah, just a little slap's fine. I just want an answer to that question, I think. Great. And Manasseh and Seda and everyone else watching, if you can just, what do we get to know? What's our little insight into this character of Diane, purely on the punctuation and the physical impact that the speed and pace of these thoughts has on the actor Belle. Great, Belle, when you're ready, let's jump in and give this a little go.
Am I doing this seated?
See, it's absolutely fine, Belle. Yeah, you can stay sat where you are. Or if you want to stand, that's fine, whatever feels most comfortable for you.
Oh, this is fine. Okay.
Great, thank you.
I lost my job today because of you. Well, actually, I'm technically suspended, but I'll resign before they fire me. One of my colleagues reported me to the Board of Governors.
Just pause there, Belle. Really nice. Belle, can we go from the top again? And can I ask you to physicalize that change into like a full spin on the seat? Is that all right? So we just really start to get this in your body, the rhythm of this text, if that's possible. When you're ready, let's pick it up from the top again, please, Belle. It's great.
I lost my job today because of you. Well, actually, I'm technically suspended, but I'll resign before they fire me. One of my colleagues reported me to the Board of Governors. The woman I was mentoring, actually. Because that's what happens. The mentee, the student, they all grow up and have minds of their own.
Great, pause there for me, Belle. Brilliant, nice. Belle, how did that feel physically? What sort of vibe does that give us about the character?
It's a lot easier because when you read it cold, it's really difficult. There are so many full stops and it feels really broken. But when you add in the physical, it gives you more of like a force.
Interesting. So we feel that force. Yeah, great. Manasa and Seda, anything that we can sort of pick up potentially about this character from that exercise?
So in terms of the character, or what I found from watching the way that she did it just then.
Yeah, from the way that she did it then, what did you sort of feel from that, Manasa?
Yeah, so when she did it that way, you kind of, it seems like you're able to kind of digest more when the words are landing, as opposed to just saying the actual words. Because granted, the text has to be honored in some way. It's not just like a bunch of words in a way. The punctuation is there to also tell you something is happening here and honor the punctuation and the text. And it's really interesting because, yeah, let's say the words really land this time.
Great. So we managed to land that. Excellent. And it gives us just a little sense of the physical feeling within our body of how we physicalize this character's potential emotional state that they're trying to wrestle with. This is someone whose thoughts are arriving quickly and are broken and they're fighting it together. Great. I'm just going to push on for 2 more little moments, if that's okay, Seda, and then I'm going to hand over to you for a bit of brilliant Shakespeare. So Belle, so we've started to think about, before we've even thought about what our character wants or our character's objective, just from the text, we've got our facts and our questions to build our character around, and we've used our punctuation to get a sense of our character's emotional rhythm or their internal rhythm. So now I want to think about sort of 3 big questions, and these are my 3 big questions that I ask about any monologue, which is, we start with, what has happened just before this moment to make this character want to speak? What is the impulse for this character to speak? And I can tell you that in the text, just before this moment, she's been for a meeting at school where they've told her she's suspended, and she's had a drink, and then she's journeyed to this student's house to confront him. So this sense of what happened before is useful because it allows us to get a sense of what gear we want to drop into there. So we know that's what's happened before. We then ask, who's that character speaking to, and how does that affect things? So for this character, Diane is speaking to Freddie, somebody that there's quite a sort of intimate relationship with, but there's also danger to that relationship. It makes us think about the cost to us of the words and how they're going to be received by the person that we're speaking to. And our final big question is, what does our character want? And you'll hear the word objective a lot. I was listening to an interesting lecture the other day that said it comes from Stanislavski originally, the objective, but that apparently you can also translate it from the Russian as task rather than objective. And I quite like task. I think it feels a little more playful. So what is the task of our character? And this should always link to what our character wants from the other person or the people that they're speaking to. So Belle, what do you think Diane's task is? What do you think she wants from Freddie?
I don't know, I'm in 2 minds.
Great, what are the 2? We'll help you wrestle it out.
One is that she's going over there to stop him from reporting her, following through with this kind of allegation, and 2, to kind of see where he stands. Maybe it's like a rekindle of the flame. I don't know. She's obviously asking him what went on. Maybe this is bringing up the past.
Interesting. I think my instinct, Belle, is that I want to dig into that idea of what's going on and her desire. And I think for clarity in some ways, that if she wants to know what's happened, she wants to know the truth. If her task is to find out the truth, to understand, she has her sense of what's gone on. What does Freddie know that's gone on? What's gone on from his point of view? And then she can find the truth. So if she's going over there to find the truth of this situation in a search for clarity, I think that's maybe quite a strong thing to play. So we have our 3 core questions. So we've gone from facts and questions, punctuation, our core questions around the text. And then I'm just going to throw one exercise at you, Belle, if this is okay, which is an exercise that I love to use and can hopefully help find some specificity within these lines. So I like to use a Post-it note, or Belle's just got some pieces of paper that are ripped up, which is absolutely great. And thinking about our punctuation as well, up to our full stops, breaking this piece down thought by thought. I attach in my mind, not writing it down, each thought to a new Post-it note. And we can land this Post-it note, this thought, in 3 different places. We can land it on ourselves, we can land it on the person we're speaking to, or we can land it on the space. And I want us to just work through the first few lines, Belle, and to think about, where do we want to land those lines? Do they land on self, the person we're speaking to, the space? And what's the quality that we want to land that line with? There's something really different from landing that Post-it note with a slap to there is to gently placing that Post-it note. So we can play with where we land it and how we want to land that line. And it just makes us think really specifically about each one of those little thoughts and how we want to land them. Manasseh and Seda, with your beautiful director's heads on, any little moments, any juicy moments that you want to push and pull in this, or sort of change the quality of where this thought lands or how they land, feel free to jump in. Belle, you up for giving this a little go?
I'm up for it.
Does it feel clear?
Yeah, so is this at the every thought change, as in the punctuation?
Yeah, every thought change, I think, Belle. So if we go to, what's the line to the first full stop, please, Belle?
I lost my job.
Great. So if you have, I lost my job, bang, where does that want to go? So we'll say the thought and then work out how we want to land the thought. I lost my job, bang. Yeah, and if you can sort of tie the land as close to the end of it as possible, that would be beautiful. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Perfect. Belle, whenever you're ready, you can jump in, please, dude.
I'm gonna have to balance this. Sorry, guys.
That's all right.
Okay. I lost my job today.
Interesting, Belle. I love it. That first thought, Belle, rather than landing it on self, can we land it on the other person, on the person we're speaking to? Let's start strong with a sense of blame or connection. And then I love that today goes out into the space and opens it up. But let's see how it feels to start strong and land that, and then open it up into the space. Is that okay? When you're ready, Belle, let's give it a go.
I lost my job today because of you. Well, because of... Actually, I'm technically suspended, but I'll resign.
Pause there, Belle. Lovely. That because of your choice to land that on you, Belle, feels really interesting. Her refusal to say me almost because of what I did, but the inference of that is really beautiful. Let's just take it from the top to that moment again, please, Belle, and then we're going to be Romeo done. But just see how it really feels to feel that blame or that thought land on you, Belle. Does that feel okay?
Yeah.
Great. When you're ready, Belle, let's jump in, please.
I lost my job today because of you. Well, because of... Actually, I'm technically suspended, but I'll resign before they fire me. Great,
pause there. Lovely, Belle. So already we start to find a bit more of a journey through this. We start to find something which feels a little juicy and the intricate moments or the specificity to what we're doing with our lines. Thank you, but I'm sorry I've talked so much, Manasseh and Seda. I apologise. I'm going to zip it and hand over to the wonderful Yildiz.
That's great. Thank you so much, Matt. I found that really, really interesting. Like, I find these different entries into text just fascinating, and working with practice, you can just pick these little tools to your talking when you're getting a piece of text or you've got an audition to go to. And of course, like Matt said at the start, we're all going to have different light bulb moments, right? And I had so many light bulb moments in that. So thank you. I can't wait to be in a room together again.
Come on, let's do it.
in here. Really lovely. And I think what we started there is understanding the different approaches to text and the muscularity of text. And we're going to unpack that a little bit more now with some Shakespeare. So Belle, feel free to chip in, but Manasseh, I want to hear from you now because you've been sat there waiting eagerly, and it's over to you. So as Matt said earlier, Romeo done. That was a really good segue into the Romeo speech. Yes, mate. So what I'd like you to do now, do you have space, Manasseh, to stand up from where you are sat?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I got a bit of space, yeah.
Could we take this speech onto your feet?
Yeah. Can you see me well?
I can see you perfectly. Lovely. So we'll first hear the speech from top to bottom so we can get an idea for the shape of the speech, and then we'll only work on probably the first half of it just for time's sake. So let's hear it. Let's give the speech a go.
Sure.
And just for a disclaimer for everyone out there, they've just been given this speech now, so this is literally Shakespeare's sight reading. So yeah, and also whilst Manasseh is writing performing his speech, I'd be really interested in you watching at home what your opinion is about Shakespeare and how you feel about Shakespeare. When I say the word Shakespeare, what happens in your body? Is it like yes, or is it like, oh god, no, I don't understand a word of it, mate, what's he talking about? Yeah, be honest, right? No judgment. Type in the comments now. And Manasseh, take it away.
Torture, not mercy. Heaven is here, where Juliet lives, and every cat and dog and little mouse, every unworthy thing live here in heaven, may look on her, but Romeo may not. More validity, more honorable state, more courtship lives in carrion flies than Romeo. They might seize on the white wonder of dear Juliet's hand and steal immortal blessing from her lips. Who even pure and festal modesty still in blush as thinking their own kiss is sin.
Great, just pause there for me. We're going to carry on with this speech, and I want to now think about ascension, so upward inflection as you get to the end of the line. So think of it almost like a Nike tick, yeah? On each line. On brand. Through it. And as you're coming into this upward inflection, I want you to breathe some life into this speech by thinking about these words: wonder, joy, and questioning. Yeah?
Yep.
From where you left off.
But Romeo may not. He is banished. This may do this, but I from this must fly. They are free men. But I am banished. Flies may do this, but I'm from this. I've just read the whole line again. Sorry.
Fine, that's fine. From the top, and let's just do the first half of this speech, and let's think about this idea of upward inflection, wonder, joy, and questioning. Great. And for those watching at home, just notice what the difference is between the first time it was read and now with these slight provocations to the text.
Tis torture and not mercy. Heaven is here where Juliet lives, and every cat and dog and little mouse, every unworthy thing live in heaven and may look on her, but Romeo may not.
Good. Do we already notice the difference between version 1 and version 2? Matt, I can see you're excited. What's your initial response?
Yeah, it was suddenly, I'm in, there's a clarity to the storytelling and to the emotion that comes within that, just by lifting that inflection, by keeping us with the thought. So we keep with that story until the point that he chooses to finish the thought. Yeah, I'm in, I'm all sorts of in.
It's so interesting that you talk about this word thought, right? I'm going to give you a little tidbit here. If you go to any Shakespeare speech like this, right, the first word of the line is usually the thought shifter, and the last word of the line is usually the meat of the story, right? The important juicy nugget. So if at any point you're like, oh, I've got no bloody idea what this speech means, just do that. Just have a look at the first word and the last word of each line, and it will give you an indication as to the story or the journey of the piece. But really, really good, Manasa. Right, you can take a seat. I'm just going to read out some of the comments now of what I feel. We've got Stores who's saying that he's quite interested but confused. I'm with you, mate.
Yeah,
My school, the way that we were taught Shakespeare, it just felt so heady, and I was just like, we've learned a lot about the history and the context of Shakespeare, but the performance of Shakespeare, I feel like it can get a bit confusing because, yeah, I guess a lot of our first entry point into Shakespeare is by reading loads of books at school and doing GCSE exams about it, right? Which sometimes can drain the fun out of it. We've got Charisma Patel, great name, Charisma. And they say, I absolutely love Shakespeare. We've got Fiona who says, nervous for sure, but it's exciting when I understand. Exactly. And it's that excitement that we want in the room when we're doing our auditions. Bella, we've got love it, but I think it's easy to get too stuck in the words and forget about the body. Bella, that's a smooth segue into our next exercise. Absolutely. Because at school, like I said, we can think about Shakespeare quite a lot and think about the history and wanting to get it right and understand every single word through a heady way. Really encourage you when you approach your Shakespeare speeches to get out of your head and go straight into the body. Take Shakespeare for a walk. So get up onto your feet. Manasa, I'm going to need you on your feet again.
Of course, of course.
Right, so this is something that you can do on your own or with a mate on Zoom. We're still in lockdown for the next year. However you want to approach it. We're going to find the antithesis in the script, right? An antithesis is the opposite, right? So for example, torture and heaven, those would be opposites to me. So I'd go torture, heaven, right? So this is an exercise for you to do at home with us, and Belle and Matt, feel free to jump in. Any kind of antithesis that you find in the script, just put it on a click. Great, so let's go. Who wants to jump in? Juliet, Romeo.
Cat, dog.
I need to get the script up. I'm so sorry, this is terrible. I'm so sorry, this is terrible. I'm on it.
We've got this. Manasa, you've got it as well. We've got blessing, hell.
Still, pure. Banished, free.
Have we got torture, mercy?
Yes. There, here. Poison, lips.
Hand, lips. Divine.
Divine, damned.
Nice.
Heaven, hell.
Good. Thou, I.
Little, more.
Thinking, kisses. Good. So we get the idea, right? Oh, Matt was about to come in with one. Go on,
No,
Matt.
it's fine. No, I'm good. I'm good. You locked it down. Thank you.
Great. So what does this do when we look for the antithesis in the script? What has it made us discover?
Is that to me or?
Anyone that's in this space right now.
Oh yeah. Well, there's kind of a lot of contradiction going on, which is what I'm discovering. And that again, the thought of that journey Like you're not stuck in one place. Like you're going all over the place to seek for the answers, whatever the answers may be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. In this speech particularly, he's so all over the place, right? He's in that decision-making space. And I think with every speech that you get from Shakespeare, it's really important to find the antithesis, see all of the connection and links between the world and the landscape that this character is in and what they're going through in that moment. Great. So we're going to now take it to another entry point into Shakespeare. So thinking about this antithesis and this idea of contradictions and opposites. Manasa, I'm going to ask you to do the first half, or I'll probably stop you after a few lines of the speech. Every time that you feel like a word or an idea or a feeling is positive, you jump to the right. And I want it to be a jump. So you're physically landing the text, yeah? Anytime that there's that's negative, I want you to jump to the left. And those watching at home, I want you to really watch out for what discoveries you make about the text by watching Manasa jump from right to left. And what does that tell us about Romeo and where he's at right now? Great, go for it.
'Tis torture and not mercy. Heaven is here, where Juliet lives, and every cat and dog and little mouse and...
You to be really specific now. Is Juliet positive to you or negative? Who is Juliet to you?
She's very positive to me.
Wow.
Juliet, not physically, obviously, 2 meters distancing, but let's go from the top. Let's be really specific. So we're not rushing past any word. We're really honouring each word that's in that script.
Of course. 'Tis torture and not mercy.
Not, is that left or right?
Left.
Go for it.
Yeah. 'Tis torture and not mercy. Heaven is here, where Juliet lives, and every cat and dog and little mouse and every unworthy little thing live here in heaven.
I'm just going to adapt to this exercise for Zoom, right? Because I know you want to carry on jumping to the left or right. So this time, any time that you say anything negative, I want you to slap the left side of your body. Be kind to yourself. And anytime that you say something positive, slap the right side of your body. Yeah? So same exercise, but we're replacing the jumping with the slapping. Let's go.
So positive, right slap. Cool. 'Tis torture and not mercy. Heaven is here, where Juliet lives, and every cat and dog and little mouse and every unworthy thing live here in heaven. May look on her, but Romeo may not. More validity, more honorable state, more courtship lives in carrion flies than Romeo. Then I seize on the white wonder of dear Juliet's hand and still immoral blessings from her lips. And even in pure vestal modesty, still blushes thinking their own kisses sin. But
sin?
Romeo may not.
What's kisses? What's sin? Positive, negative?
Yeah, so yeah, it's kind of opposites. Yeah, positive and negative.
So let's go for it. Let's go to the top of that line about kisses and sin. Just being really specific with each word. You're doing really great.
Yeah. Oh God, I've lost it. Bear with me. There we go. Kisses sin, but Romeo may not. He is banished. Flies may do this, but I from them must fly.
Good.
There are 4 men, but I am banished.
Lovely. How did that feel? It's hard, right?
Yeah, I've never quite thought about text like that before.
Yeah, so tell me.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
What do you notice about the text or about this character of Romeo by breaking it down like that?
I get the sense of like he has, well, from my perception of reading it this way, there's a lot of emotion just in those words themselves. Like he's kind of like a ball of emotions at this point. Like he's not at one state, like a calm sort of emotion, because he feels a certain type of way. Like obviously reading what he's saying, it's kind of hard for him to kind of sustain a consistent level. It's just all over the place kind of thing, and it feels like he's about to erupt here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah, and if we think about Romeo and the stakes of the play of where he's at the moment, that's exactly it. That's the energy and that's the space that we want to see Romeo in emotionally, right? And I think with Shakespeare monologues, if you ever do a Shakespeare monologue in your future career, people watching, don't try not to get too much up in here, because as soon as the actor goes up in here too much, then you lose that connection with us, your audience, with your director, with your auditioner, yeah? And trust that everything that you need is in that speech already. So if you don't know what it means, just get it on its feet and do this exercise. Go from left to right, right? And then slowly you'll start understanding through a physical way what this text means to Romeo in that moment, right? So that's just one entry point after we do the antithesis, after we do the ascension at the end of the line. We're going to do something else now, right? I think it's really, really important. A lot of times when I have people coming to audition for me at NYT or in other spaces, I like to ask them, who are you speaking to? Where are you? Who are these people that you're referencing in the speech? And I think it's really, really important, like we discovered with Matt in the previous exercise, to know the who's, the what's and the where's. But specifically with Shakespeare, because he builds such a big landscape and geography around these stories, it's really important for you as the actor to know what these details are. So now I'd like you to start again from the top, and I want you to, every time that you talk about yourself, just thump your chest, right? Anytime that you talk about Juliet, I want you to point to the right side of the room. And just for those watching at home, the camera flips. So if you see Manasa doing to the right and it looks like the left, it's because the camera's flipped it. Great. Anytime that we're talking about anyone outside, so there, them, the court, over to the left. And anytime that you're speaking to the friar, who this speech is being spoken to, point to the space in front of you, to this camera. Yeah? Great. Let's go through it. And think
So
about...
I've got self.
Yeah. Juliet to the right.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
There, and then the friar. And for any speech that you do at home, whether it's Romeo and Juliet or Much Ado, whatever it is, just map out the geography, yeah, when you're rehearsing your speech, because these are all rehearsal methods, right? You don't necessarily have to be pointing to these characters when you're performing it, just for you to know as the actor where you're placing the geography. Great.
Sure. "'Tis torture and not mercy. Heaven is here, where Juliet lives, and every cat and dog and little mouse and every unworthy thing live here in heaven may look on her, but Romeo may not."
Great.
More validity, more honorable state, more courtship lives in carrion flies than Romeo.
Great, lovely. So I'm going to stop you there just because I know we're kind of short on time, but we carry on doing that and we really place those people in the space. We really understand. What did that give to you doing that exercise just now?
I don't know why, but this time around I've just felt more calmer.
Yeah.
I can't explain why that is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's something about placing a sense of knowledge or understanding into the space. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like massively, Seda, it's like where you are in the world. Once you know your place within this world, then the thoughts and everything else spread out around you. It just sort of root you or ground you somehow.
Totally, because I think sometimes when we could do with Shakespeare, like I said, you can get quite heady and it can be all about the... But actually, open it up. Know what's out there beyond this moment. I think it's really useful for the actor. Okay, so the final, very quickly, we're only going to do the first few lines. I want you to, again, you can try this with any speech at home, this idea of flowing an idea, questioning, or landing an argument, right? So I want you to go through those first few lines of that speech and think about some of the lines or sections of the lines, you're floating it, some of them you're questioning it, and some of it you're landing your argument. Yeah? And let's see what new discoveries we make that way.
"'Tis torture and not mercy."
Great. Was that floating, questioning, or landing, guys? Matt and Belle?
I felt that was landed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it
A
landing?
definite solid bam.
Yeah. Great. Carry on for us.
"Heaven is here where Juliet lives, and every cat and dog and little mouse, every unworthy thing live here in heaven, and may look on her, but Romeo may not. More validity, more honorable state, more courtship lives in carrying flags than Romeo."
We do that line, more honourable state, more validity, and now do it in a different way, either floating it, landing it, or questioning it.
Cool.
You can hear that difference of what that does to the text.
More validity, more honorable state, more courtship lives in carrion flies than Romeo. Then I seize on the white wonder of Juliet's hand and steal immortal blessings from her lips, who...
I'm just going to pause you there. Great. Did we notice the difference there? And what that does to the text and how it frees us up a little bit?
Yeah.
Manassa, what did you notice playing around with this idea of floating, questioning, and landing?
I think it kind of gives you a variety of options to interpret the text. Because I'm just thinking about the speech and the times that I've seen it done. It's kind of been all in similar ways. And the words on there, when you're saying kind of like think about floating it more, it's like, okay, cool, that's giving me something to unlock, something different to use, something to utilize, which is great, because then it might just make you not well, maybe stand out, but it kind of shows that you've gone about it in a different way. You've done that extra bit of groundwork to try and just give this text in a different light and give your kind of take on it as well, which is great.
Completely. And I think with Shakespeare, we can get stuck in how it's been done before, because Shakespeare's been done countless times over years, right? It's about listening to your instinct, and these entry points can really help free you up from the text, your idea of what the text should sound like, and instead to understand the muscularity and how many different possibilities there are to deliver this beautiful, beautiful writing. Matt, Belle, anything to add?
Yeah, I think personally watching it, it made me more responsive. Find that I wanted to know more because you personally like gave it more, it was just more zesty, you know? Also, I think as an actor, I'm terrified of Shakespeare. And whenever I pick up a speech, I just immediately tense up. Like I'm just still, I'm so rigid and I overact it. Whereas when you can do things like this, it not only makes it fun, but it kind of, it makes it simpler. It makes like, it's exactly kind of what we did with Matt's contemporary monologue. It just makes it easier and accessible. And it, for me, I can understand it better rather than having to go on like Spark Notes and understand like the context. And that just freaks me out.
Yeah, hands down, if you do these physical exercises, you'll be able to understand far quicker what this text can go to Spark Notes.
Yeah.
Takes the pressure off from doing the acting or doing the Shakespeare, right? Lovely, really great work. Matt, is there anything you'd like to add?
Just to echo everything said, I think it's just brilliant, and it's lovely to have these other ways in. And I think for me, it's really interesting as well to see, as we start to workshop, reminds me of some of the redirection that we might end up giving within an audition at National Youth Theatre. And to just say to sort of everybody at home watching, in terms of that redirection, we're not expecting you to nail it. For us, it's a collaboration. We want to work, as Seda and Manassa have just been working, as me and Belle were working, to create something. And all we're ever looking for with that redirection is commitment, to commit, to jump in, to give it a go. Or if we're digging into a moment, then we just want to explore that. And there's nothing wrong with, as Belle and Manassa did as well, to go, can you explain that a bit more? What do you mean there? Ask those questions. It's our job as the people on this side of the table to be clear with you. That's how, well, yeah, we need to be clear with the work we're asking you to play with.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Should we jump onto our list, Seda, to our big top 10?
Yes, absolutely. Right. Me and Matt thought, let's give you a top 10 list of no-nos.
Big audition no-nos. I'd look like in the dream world, imagine some lift music playing in the background now as we sort of count down our top 10.
Right. Shall we, can I say the first one? Because it's
Please, Seda, all you.
Okay, so the first big no-no for any auditions or for life is don't be a dickhead. Just be a dickhead.
Sounds simple, but it's so true. And both me and Seda have this as our like number one whenever we sort of create a room and a contract of behaviour within that room. It's just don't be a plonker. We want kindness and generosity. We're building an ensemble of brilliant people.
Kindness is so important. Yeah, number two.
Number two, you don't always need to be centre stage. And we don't mean this in a harsh way. It's more about going, trust that you will find your moment in this room. That to be a scene, you don't always have to be the one in the middle or in the front. To support is often far more important. Check in with your own instincts and challenge those. If you like to lead, where are the moments you can sit back? If you sit back, where are the moments you can step forward?
Great. Number three, kind of going off what you just said, trust that we've seen and heard you. So you need to come up to us and speak to us in the break.
It's good. We've seen you. Don't worry. We've absolutely got this. Number four is, I just looked on my thing. Oh, don't assume that age has any bearing. Yes, often at NYT auditions, you will be in a room with people ranging in age from potentially 13 or 14 up to 25. Please don't feel that your age has any sort of bearing. Enjoy being in a room with a diverse group of people and enjoy bringing either the energy or the experience or the life experience that you've had that makes you you. Enjoy bringing that into the room.
Absolutely. Number five, if you've got any professional training or any professional credits, or you go to a drama school on Saturdays, that's great, really, really great. But please don't feel like you need to reel off all of these credits, all of these moments of training, right? What we're interested in is the here and now, what you offer on that day. Yeah, so it's great that you've got this wealth of experience. And if you don't, that's also fine, because all we want to see is what you've got to bring on that day. And that's all we can go by.
I'll be shamed because my acting and directing CV is terrible. Question number, oh, not question, top tip, number 6. Don't always assume that the male facilitator is the one in charge. I know it sounds ridiculous in the age that we are in, but me and Seda have both experienced it where people instinctively will come and speak to the male in the room. Be aware that this is a completely equal space that we run in. And often, as is today, Seda is bringing by far more brilliance than I could ever imagine having within me.
Oh, Matt, stop. We're both
true, man.
That's a great one. Number 7. Please don't scream at us when we are in the room. So when I say scream, I don't mean just spontaneously scream. I mean in your speech, right? Don't feel like you need to squeeze in all of the emotions and all of the acting into the 30 seconds. Please don't scream. Just please don't scream.
Number 8 is resist the temptation to contact us on social media after the audition. Please. Yes, some of the associates, Seda has a brilliant yoga practice outside of NYT and her content on the gram is fire, but it feels a little awkward and a little unprofessional to be in contact with people or to try and reach out and to ask certain questions. Treat it as a professional audition, or as we do in the world of work. We're there, we're working together, we're collaborating. Once the day finishes, it finishes. Enjoy having that break. It's good for you.
Number 9, please don't overthink it. We talked about it a little bit earlier, Matt mentioned. Any comments or redirection that we give you are given in the moment. It doesn't mean that you're in or you're out. It's just something that we want to play around with in that moment. And we, much like actors, as facilitators, as casting directors, as directors, we work from a place of instinct. So if you've got this instinct to go, oh, I wonder what would happen if, that's why we're redirecting you in that moment. Yeah,
absolutely, Mike. And number 10, bringing us home on our list of top 10 audition no-nos, is actually one for the parents. If there are any parents out there listening, or feel free to pass this on. It's a really tough challenge, but we want the parents to just chill out a little and to know that we will keep you safe. We are professionally trained, we are facilitators, we will keep you safe in the space. So parents, please don't feel the need to be too full on in these days. You can trust to leave your brilliant young actors in that space and to empower them to be free. And for us, that's just about getting to know you as the people, as the real sort of person in your freest possible sense. So yeah, that's why we dig in, really want to see you. And parents, relax, be the supportive, brilliant people you are, but you don't need to be in the space with us.
Great. And that's our top 10 no-no.
We have some questions for Q&A, which I'm really aware that that have been taken from the Brilliant membership, and I think it's really important that we answer. But before we jump onto those, we'd love to squeeze in a swift little bit of chat about the workshop element of the audition. Now, I think for many people, the monologue can feel like a really big focus, and the morning can feel like something that you have to get through to get to the monologue time, or something that you just have to sort of get through for this 3 hours, and then I get to show who I am. And in fact, I can only speak for me, but I think for Seda as well, often the workshop is as if not more important. We get to see what you're like as creatives and artists as part of a group, and how you play within the room. Are you people that we would like to spend 2, 3, 4 weeks with creating work? So we just wanted to have a little quick chat and a few games to explore the type of energy that we would like you to keep a hold of in that workshop. Front-footed, playful, mischievous, generous, kind. That sort of energy is what we want to dig into. What do you think, Seda? Should we jump straight to a little bit of improv story or a little bit of devising? What's your vibe?
Let's do a very quick improv, and then we'll go into the devising task.
Beautiful. Sounds great.
So we've got 2 wonderful members here. Can we have Manasa? You're going to be interjecting, right? I'm going to fast track this because Belle, I've done this with you before, so you know the deal.
That was a pro.
I'm going to need you to, this pro over there, I'm going to need you to improvise a story, try to keep it present tense, and at any point, Manasa, you can interject with "and," which you have to take on, Belle. Manasa, you can also interject with "no, it didn't." You can also interject with "make it darker," and you can also interject with "show me." Yeah?
Cool. Yep.
It's up to how much sass you want to put into it. Lovely. Let's go.
Today I woke up and I had some Cocoa Pops, and they were delicious, but I couldn't find any milk, so I had to drink them with orange juice, which was disgusting. So then I decided to walk down the street, and there was this dog that had been bitten by this dinosaur, and there was just blood like seeping down the road, and it was going into the drains, and then there was this like stench just coming up, and it was all green and it was yellow, and I couldn't even see through the fog. I was like walking through it like this, and I just didn't even know what to do.
So let's interject. Let's make it harder for her, because I feel like she's in her element here with improv. Now it's up to you, Manasa, to keep on interjecting. Give her loads of interjections. Let's go.
So I've got "and," "make it darker," "show me," and is there another one?
No, it didn't.
No, it didn't. Okay, cool.
Elle lies a lot, man. So let her know. No, it didn't.
That is fine. I just forgotten that one. That's all. So good. So good.
Okay. So there was this fog, right? And it stunk, and then I couldn't see anything.
No, it didn't.
No. So anyway, there was this rain, and it started pouring marshmallows, and I was like, and I'm just eating these marshmallows.
Make it darker.
Right? And then the marshmallows got stuck to my skin, and they start like seeping through my bones, and then all of a sudden I turn into a marshmallow.
No, it didn't.
I turn into a burger, and I'm just walking down the street. I'm walking down the street as this burger bun, and then all of a sudden the bread starts moulding, and
No, it didn't.
the bread is on fire. Oh my gosh! And I'm hopping around the street as a burger bun, and I don't know what to do. And I'm like, can someone give me some water? I am on fire. I was literally shaking and convulsing like this.
Oh, can you hear us?
Pause there, Mel. Pause there, Mel.
That's really hard to hear.
I'm beat.
And that is how you get into NYT. No, I'm joking.
But to build from that a little bit, Bill, there are elements there that for those watching, as joyful as this game is, so beautifully set up by Seda, some of the things that we're seeing with Belle, a willingness to accept offers, to not push back against Vanessa, but to roll with it, to accept the offer, to not see those changes as failure, that your idea isn't accepted or that your idea is built on doesn't mean you've failed. Relish in that, collaborating and building this. There's something about that front-footed energy, a playfulness, a mischief. That's a really lovely thing to keep hold of. And as well, it feels like at no point is Belle worrying about self in that. It's not about how good she looks, about that I'm doing the right thing. She's playing the game and she's playing it hard. That's what you do in these workshops. Don't worry about self or about standing out. Make the other person look brilliant. I'm going to be a brilliant playmate for Manassa in this. And that's what Belle's giving us.
Yeah, spot on, Matt. Spot on. It's that willingness to jump in. Great. So moving on to the next exercise. This we're going to open up to you all watching at home as well, right? So we're going to set you a devising task, right? And in this devising task, obviously we're all working with these things. That's my phone, by the way. And these screens a little bit more. So how do we work with this medium, right? I'm going to set you a devising task now. And much like an Instagram story, I want it to be as short as 15 seconds. And in these 15 seconds, I want it to be an empty space. And then I want you to come into the space and indicate what this environment is. Show us what that environment is. Tell us what that environment is. I want something to change in the middle of this 15-second scene, which changes your level of tension or it changes your attitude to this environment that you're in. And then you have to find a reason to leave. Empty space. Yeah? I'm going to give you literally 5 seconds, the both of you. And I'd like you to offer something. Yeah, let's do it. And then for those watching at home, you can be thinking about what your task could be, but we'll come back to that at the end of this devising task. Great. So, Manassa or Belle, got any ideas? 15 seconds of devising genius.
Yeah.
Great. Belle, let's hear you. Let's go.
In. Let's go.
Am I doing it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, bloody hell.
So we want empty space. We want you to come in, tell us.
Me as well, yeah? Or
we'll do it just for this one because we're short on time.
Thanks,
you need to show us, tell us what this environment is. Something needs to change, and then we need you to leave the space.
Okay, and this is vocalized, yeah?
Yeah, let's see it. Tell us the story, however you want to tell the story.
Okay. Hi, I'd have the garden salad, please, with a side of artichokes. Not too spicy, thanks. Fuck is that? Oh my god, that's disgusting.
Yes,
sorry,
Belle.
I just swore. I'm so sorry.
All good, all good. So what do we love about that? What do we love about that?
I love the sense of space that she creates straight away and the clarity of this moment of change. That it's something that is visually seen, that instinctively, immediately changes her and forces her to get out.
Great. And I really love the very clear beats, beginning, middle and end. Yeah. When we get given this devising task, sometimes we can overcomplicate things. Actually, there's a real simplicity. Just know your beginning, middle and end and what changes in the middle. Great. Also, what I found quite interesting is, not just with yours, Belle, but quite often when we do these devising tasks in these audition workshops, we notice that a lot of actors rely on words, right? But as you notice with Matt and I, we're quite physical practitioners. It's all about getting the story into the body, right? Body communicates far quicker than words do, yeah? So how can we strip away the text and tell a story without words? So Belle, I'd like you to recreate your scene right now. Show us exactly the same story, the same change, but without the words. So we're really stripping it away. How much do we need words to communicate and tell a story?
Could I throw in another layer of challenge, Seda? Is that all right? Just to build on this, that sometimes what I see is when you strip away words, people rely on a lot of mime, on a lot of call me and I'm you. Belle, we're intrigued to strip that away as well, to just dig into the honesty and truth of this moment, to see how it feels to sit there, to wait for your salad to arrive, and then you see this thing and leave. So don't be tempted to get too mime-malicious or too mouthy with your words. Sit in, just letting the body tell this story.
Yes, really great point. No rhubarb. Let's go.
Yes, yes.
How Belle used her breath, right? We quite often forget our breath as actors. And like Matt mentioned at the start, breath carries emotion, right? And what we heard there, as soon as she sat, we all know that feeling. We're in a restaurant and we're about to eat. Well, we don't. It's been 2 months since we've been allowed in restaurants. But you know what I mean? When we've got food in front of us and we're like, oh, yeah, I'm ready to eat. And we can relate to that breath of contentment, right? Breath carries emotion. How many words do we actually need to tell a story? That was so clear for me. And also it puts the onus on your audience, right? It gets the audience engaged in a way that perhaps we might not be with the words, because now as an audience member, I'm trying to work out what's going on. And you're placing story onto what's happening in front of you, which for me then makes it a far more engaging performance than explaining word by word the thought of that character. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That makes all the sense, Seda. I think it's such a beautiful exercise and so beautifully, shown with the rules that you put in to help Belle. And like you say, I love that, Seda, that you picked up, and that like we give the audience space to create their own piece of storytelling within our work. Yeah, it's that alchemy. We meet in the middle. Beautiful, mate. Beautiful. So people out there, please feel free to create your own versions of this. Think about limiting text, share them on Instagram, tag NYT, and we're going to start sharing some on the NYT Insta story over the next.
Try to keep it to one story, so 15 seconds.
15 seconds, that's a challenge. Beautiful. We're through to our fifth and final section of our little time together, and we've got the grand total of 4 minutes. And Bella, Manasseh, me and Seda are going to look to you to throw out some questions that have been sent in by people who've auditioned for NYT this year and potentially not been successful in their audition, or NYT members who have maybe got some questions to ask. So would one of you two like to throw the first question out there? And me and Seda will try and do our best to answer it.
Yeah. What advice would you give to someone who's auditioned 3 to 4 times without success?
Matt?
I will jump in on this little bad boy and say that there are numerous stories of people across the National Youth Theatre who have auditioned lots and lots of times before getting in. So number one, don't be disheartened. Again, trust that you were enough. Check back in with some of the things that we've spoken about in this session. Check in with your monologue selection. Make sure that it's something you're passionate about. Make sure it's a monologue with a clean drive and that you're doing detailed work. Check in with the energy that we've spoken about for the workshops, about being committed, front-footed, playful, and not feeling that you have to push. And then just keep going, jump in. It prepares you for the industry. Unfortunately, this is an industry where you need to be resilient. And if this is something you want to do and you're fighting for it, keep coming back. We appreciate it.
And hands down, every actor that you really enjoy watching has had rejection after rejection after rejection. All of us in this space right now have been rejected from auditions. What's important is how you pick yourself up and go for it again. Yeah? Great.
Fire, Seda. Next question, Manasseh, hit us.
What qualities does a successful applicant have?
Oh, for me, we've touched upon it a lot today. It's this idea of generosity, of making everyone else in the room look great and feel great. Yeah, because quite often when we come into an audition, we're thinking about the self, and of course, because it's your audition. But sometimes it takes the pressure off an audition when you stop thinking about yourself and instead go, right, let me just connect and show my work, show my artistry to these other people in this space. So we're looking for generosity of offers, of your kindness, a willingness to jump in, this sense of front-footedness, active listening. Like Matt mentioned earlier, this idea of swapping the roles that you play within the room. So if you notice that you're taking up a lot of space, see what happens if you take a step back and start listening and observing more. So you're not always dominating, or you're not always on the edges. So you're constantly going between them both. We're looking for a sense of cheekiness, playfulness, maybe a little bit of naughtiness, because that's always really fun in a room. And a willingness to, like my favorite phrase, to hold on tightly to all your preparation, all of your hard work, but then that willingness to let go of it, right? So we can see this idea of flexibility and adaptability if we offer you different directions or different ideas to play with.
Really nice. Mate, no, I think you've absolutely nailed it, Seda. I think it's all of that. Yeah. And what was the other thing that I was going to... It doesn't matter. It must have been a lie. I've forgotten a bit. Next question. Let's have it.
What are good options other than NYT and drama school to get into acting as a career?
Good question. I think it depends what stage or what age you're at. And potentially, I think it's worth checking with, why are you keen to make work? As a director, I think, what are the stories that I want to tell and why am I the right person to tell them? Yeah. And for me, it's about going, potentially, if you're sort of 16, 17, enjoy having some time to develop who you are as an artist, to make your own work, to surround yourself with creatives ensembles and people that excite you. Spend time on working out who you are as an artist, maybe rather than having to worry about, how do I get into the industry? Trust that by making work and making some of those discoveries, hopefully the next stages or the next steps start to open themselves up further down the road. I don't know if that feels right, Seda, or yeah.
Feels great, really bang on. And remember, you're sharing work when you're in an audition. So we're kind of dissolving this hierarchical system of us and you, of the power balance, I guess. And instead, how can we make it a really equitable situation where we're just two artists sharing work and talking about different approaches to the work? You're an artist in your own right, and always remember that when it comes to your work.
Absolutely. I'm aware of time, that we're at the 6:30. Should we take one more question?
Let's take one more.
Who's got a final question for us, please? Annabelle, Belle, or Manasa?
Yeah. Is how many times you've auditioned before taken into consideration when deciding if you should gain a place at NYT?
I had someone who auditioned, well, I've had this quite a few times, where they've auditioned 5, 6, 7 times before. And for me, what that indicates is this resilience that we were talking about, and this ability to get up and try again. So that communicates that to me, but also what I was mentioning earlier, it's about what we see on that day as well. So it's useful to know what's come before, but actually what I'm really interested in is that moment there when I'm with you in that space. Anything you'd like to add, Matt?
I think that's absolutely spot on. Yeah, to not feel that having auditioned before is a negative and not got in. See it as a superpower. Don't be afraid to say, yeah, I've been here 3-4 years and now I'm ready. We really appreciate that sort of commitment and generosity that you're bringing. I've seen 2 flash up just from our YouTube comments now. Have a passion for accents. How do I showcase these in auditions? I'm always really keen to hear auditions in the actors, in your natural voice as an actor. But I don't think there's anything wrong with, there's time to chat. We have about 6-7 minutes to have a chat. Share that with us. Speak about how you love to impersonate and what it is about that excites you. But personally, for me, I'm really keen to hear your natural voice in an audition speech. I don't know about you, Seda.
And also, I think it can kind of lock you into the text and how you've rehearsed it. So I'll give you a really good example. When I first auditioned for NYT, years ago, I did Educating Rita, and I loved Cilla Black's, and I loved the Liverpudlian accent, so I did the Liverpudlian accent, right? And then when the director redirected me, I was like, oh, I've rehearsed it in this way with this accent. Ooh, and had to really work it out on the spot. So make it easier for yourself. Do it in your own voice, own your voice. Your voice is beautiful as it is, and that will also give you maybe some more room to play with it. And then I got in, so it worked. But yeah.
A little final YouTube one, I think it might be quite a nice way for us almost to sort of check out at the end of the session, is about how, as someone who's auditioned a little bit later on at 25, what steps they can take to keep active. But I thought it might be just a nice opportunity for us all to say what we've been doing to sort of keep creative in this weird time, or to keep, active. So I'll start. I was listening to a lovely podcast with Laura Marlin, who's a musician, and she described it that she needs to breathe in to be able to breathe her work out. And I'm a big believer of that, about using time like this as much, rather than feeling that you have to constantly be productive, but to go, how do I help refill or recharge myself as an artist? So for me, I love music, photography, trying to get into sort of sculpture, things that excite me outside of necessarily sort of theatre or of reading plays. But for me, it's about going holistically in a slightly more rounded way. What are other influences that I can spend some time on to recharge my creativity? I don't know how you do, Seda.
Yeah, very similarly. Like, how can we find the creativity all around us? So the creativity of making a cake. Banana bread's had a really great rep on Instagram at the moment. Everyone. How can you get creative with your banana bread, right? Because, you know, we have the facts, we're in this situation, right? The global rhythm of the world has slowed down. So that's a clear indication to slow down as well with our bodies, with our expectations in ourselves, and it's okay to take a rest, to take a breath, and to go, okay, what interests me, and how can I find the creativity in everyday ordinary tasks? So I don't know, you might want to put a tea bag in your water, juice it up, do something different. Try something new every day. Do something different to keep yourself alive, you know.
Manasseh, what have you been doing? Anything that you've been doing to keep creative and to keep active?
To be really honest, I've kind of like chosen to kind of disconnect a lot from the theatre. Nice. and be in touch with other things a bit more, because I don't want it to feel like a chore. Because when I'm in the theatre, like, I'm really in it. I'm kind of like some sort of robot. But yeah, I've just kind of decided to just kind of do more stuff connected to nature, go out on walks, see family. Well, not right now, because obviously 2 meters and everything. So yeah, just go out and walk, see nature, read books and things like that. Watch films as well. I've been catching quite a lot of films. Yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Beautiful, man. It's great. Take that pressure off. And Belle, anything from you?
Yeah, I've found this whole kind of digital thing quite helpful. I've watched a few plays that I wanted to see that theatres have released just for a small donation. Like, I watched Fleabag and things like that. So there is quite a lot of material out there that you can watch from home that's really quite cool. And also I set myself the task of coming away from social media and making sure I read. So every night I'm trying to read a book, finish a book, read a play. No pressure on myself, but I'm just really trying to actually finish books for once, because I'm someone that, when like the world is crazy and everything's back up and running, I know that will all be forgotten about. So I'm really trying to set myself the task of like picking up a book instead of my phone, which is all super helpful, I think, when you're creating. Also writing, just getting words on the page. I think that's been good as well.
Yeah. And just to go off what you said, I know it's going to be quite ironic me saying this next sentence, but Zoom fatigue is a thing. It's real. Being in front of a screen all day, all this blue light. So look after yourselves, right? All of these suggestions are so great of how we can fill our tanks up, how we can fill ourselves up again, to really use this time to do what we need to do for ourselves. And whether that means no theatre, fine. Like, do what makes you feel good and be guided by that. I think that's the most important thing.
I think that's beautiful, mate. Thank you so much, Manasseh. Thank you, Belle. Seda, thank you for your brilliance. And everybody who's watching at home, thank you. Hope it feels informative and useful. Take all of these exercises are yours now. But as Seda said so beautifully, be empowered. Know that you are artists. You have the power to change the world. What are the stories you want to tell? Go out there and tell them. You got this.
And we want to see your 15-second story on Instagram. So get posting.
Get it on. Get it on. Thank you so much, everybody. Stay safe. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Look after yourselves. Drink lots of water.